Yo, 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 yo. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the Cali Current Podcast with your host, Ish.
And Grimace, welcome back, everybody, to another taping of the CaliCurrentPodcast.
I bet you don't know what animal that is.
Damn, I'm gonna say a pterodactyl.
No, no, no. I can't make that pterodactyl noise. It's actually something very more current. That's why we're called the Cali Current Podcast. It starts with a P and it ends with a K.
I'm gonna say P.F. Chang's.
Peacock. Peacock. Well, that's what they do. And the only reason why I know is because it happened all the time when I was in Cancun about 20 plus years ago, give or take. Yeah, I'm that old. So what we're talking about today is very important in society. It's very important to the fact that we have to acknowledge what is happening, and it's young adult violence, basically minor violence in schools, and or in general, I guess school shootings, and why we're trying to bring awareness as to why this is happening more often than not, because we do believe that it's due to mental instability, mental illness, mental incapacities that these young minors are going through within their social network, their social system, their social upbringing, which means that the school system. But yeah, it's not all their fault, and we're not suggesting that. Mainly, our facts are is that it's happening in certain areas of the world in the U.S. because of the fact that there's certain lack of a something that's happening at that point in time, whether it be a family thing or whether it be a society thing. It just depends.
Yeah, so like the first topic we're talking about today is like the school safety. Who's really protected? Like, I mean, you seen like there's a differences. Like sometimes you drive to certain neighborhoods and schools and fortresses. Like you go like I don't know if you've seen that one movie, Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. They walk in, they have metal detectors, and it looks like like a Irvine Mission Viejo school. And I mean, honestly, I understand. In the suburban, there is an attacker too. There is also a threat and evil there too that goes there to kill. And in the hoods and ghettos or urban, urban, not suburban, there's also a threat, which is gangs and violence. And there's even gang units, there's even crime unit, well, gang unit and police, school police, in the inner city schools. So that's a known thing about that violence. But there's no metal detectors for the knives and weapons like that.
Well, it also depends because me myself, I can talk from experience. Currently, I work in a school district where it's mostly. I'm not gonna socialize it by categorizing it in a certain area or demographic, but it's diverse. But once in a blue moon, I do see a sheriff officer parked in the front of the school whenever I show up at whatever time I come in, usually at 8 in the morning. But in terms of like what Grimace was saying, the barrio or the ghetto or whatever the burbs, then it could possibly be where there's no presence at all whatsoever because it's just expected that I mean, sometimes there's a police officer resource department that corresponds to that school because they're only there mainly to make sure that there's no truancy. There's there to make sure that they're not there to protect
Wait,
all the
truancy? What do you mean? What is truancy? What you
truancy,
mean?
meaning that kids are not ditching or they're not going to DPs, ditching parties.
Oh, okay. So
Not
also for like
deep,
school
deep
thing.
ditching parties, not okay. Don't get me
So
wrong. I get that all these kids are way advanced nowadays, but we're not talking about that kind of message.
so okay. So there's it's there
Am
for
I a little
truancy,
delusional? I mean, whatever. It just depends on what you
but what they should
how
be
they
there
see
for
it.
is protecting life. They should be there for protecting life. Like imagine you send. I mean, me that I'm a dog owner. So imagine I send my dog. I don't even send my dogs to school, and I love them that much. But it's like, damn, you send them off to like dog daycare, or at young baby daycare, and then
I
they
bet
don't
you if
come
you had a
back.
lot of
Like
money,
finito, that is not acceptable, and you have to hold someone responsible or accountable. someone has to be fired, particularly a CEO in a high-ranking position.
No, that never happens. I bet you if you had a lot
It
of
never
money,
happens, but I mean,
you would send your kids.
a lot of people were talking smack on the social medias and and the networks that I be in, and they're like, you know what? They'll go protest for people dying, but they won't protest when the little babies is dying for a problem everybody acknowledges. So I was like, well,
Who's gonna
everybody's in
protest?
agreement. You just gotta get in some sort of unification, and with peer-to-peer communication, it should be easily established. So there is what's going on wrong here.
But who's going to protest in the black and brown community? I mean, I would assume that the family members or anybody of the deceased or the victims in this event, and we're only making it in regards to a stabbing that happened in the city of Santa Ana recently. I mean, you think the parents are really going to go out of the way to protest because of the fact that there was school violence? I mean, I would assume because their own kin or their own, relatives or whatever the case may have been.
You know what I think? I think that
started the violence. Why would they protest?
There's a difference, and I think it all boils down to things like actions. Whereas before they would increase the tax to like 2% or 2 extra coins on the Boston, and then the Bostonians got mad. And they did like a little revolution, which is called the Boston Tea Party.
Damn, Gina, you're going back to olden times. We're
Yes.
talking about modern times, not 300 plus years ago.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm trying to get to the root of the problem. Whereas I think back then, the colonizers of this land acknowledged the power of their taxes.
You mean the colonists?
Yes, the colonists and the colonizers. I think they were mindful of the taxes they pay, and they were like, you know what, we're appreciative of this. So we do not agree with this extra tax. Versus nowadays, since black and browns. Well, I mean, especially for brown,
Okay.
I'm not too sure about black.
But there's a difference between
like,
then and now. Back then, there was 101, 110% white people.
No, because see, when immigrants came to this country, I kind of speak for my people, but I don't know. I got to go talk to my grandpa.
But they were all European American.
They were just appreciative to be in this good country in their eyes. They weren't really mindful of the power of their tax. Whereas the colonizers, Bostonian Tea Party, were mindful of their ownership of their taxes that they pay. That's why this country was theirs amongst them.
There's no such term as philosophizers either.
Us browns and immigrants that come here, we're just so appreciative to be here, but we do not appreciate the contribution and the ownership of those taxes paid to make these public resources of our command and of our communal agreement.
Okay.
Which is why a lot have just relinquished that, and they're just be glad to be a part of it. But really, now as as a Chicano, then it's like, okay, I at least get half of that coin, and then maybe the other generation, then it's like that's the full part of that coin as a full-blown American.
Okay. Do you want to know a little bit of history since you're talking about 1700s? Or way before our United
I'm just talking about
America.
the mindfulness.
No, but I'm talking about
contribution as a part of the tax.
But you realize that, and
which
you understand
means they need to be more ownership of that tax money.
But you understand that in the 1700s or the 1600s, whatever you call it,
decisions.
there was no police force at all. Period. You realize that the police force came about in the 1800s, actually in the 1860s, or give or take, when the black people were already slaves here in the South, and the police force was tasked technically to keep black people from escaping white compounds or whatever the case might be.
What you're referring to is the police force was basically just slave catchers.
Police, exactly. Police
catchers.
didn't exist until the 1800s. So that's 100 years difference.
Look at basically.
So the police didn't exist in the Boston Tea Party.
If you don't know, yes, they were established to be slave catchers because they were considered property.
Correct.
That's why fast forward to nowadays, the police, they're there to enforce rights of property.
But technically they are to protect and serve, but they never protect and serve. Although there's and not because I don't believe in police. I believe that they're mostly to oppress the people.
It's a violent force of property to property saying
police don't do anything for anybody anymore. You call 911 and you have an emergency, it's going to take them 10. If you're lucky, you're going to take 20, 30 minutes minimum. Maximum, they'll be there in an hour or two because they don't care anymore, because they don't solve anything. Police the police department does not solve crimes. They don't reinstate any property to any of the victims that that lose property or whatever. Police basically is useless nowadays, and I'm not saying that because I hate police. I'm saying that because that's a fact. Because they don't do anything anymore. The police force, and in general, that's what I mean about why these tragedies happening at these low income, and not because they're low income, because it just depends on the city. Yeah, technically, if it's the barrio or if it's the ghetto or if it's anywhere, but the suburbs where there's more money in that school district, they're not gonna care.
No,
what happens?
You're wrong. The police do solve some crime, and you do need the police. What do you mean? They've solved a couple crimes already, like who shot that person. They went to go regulate on this person when that person got capped. So they do their thing. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Well, when it comes to violence,
and they are needed.
People,
what you mean?
Yes. Because I didn't say that they are needed. I'm saying that they hardly do anything for society nowadays.
They do plenty for society. They get ripped on a lot. I mean, like in any industry and any entity, there's a whole lot of bad of them. There's like gangs within the police department, and there's also good fools that actually do their job. You do need to stop fools who are killing sprees. You do need to investigate. You do need investigators to go question people and stuff like that. You do need all that stuff. But
but when it comes to protecting the minors in schools, are they doing a good job about it?
No, because they're not directing their resources. That's what we're getting to. They're not directing their resources. Instead of doing money on bombs in different countries, with all the California money, you could put metal detectors. And then at least if they throw, I was going to say, if they throw hooks at school, no one's going to get shanked or shot because, you at least have metal detectors so they can't get a knife or a bullet in there.
Well, you realize that a lot of these schools might or might not have security. Excuse me, but even then,
they have metal detectors when I go to Angels Dodgers game. When I go to I don't really go to
concerts. Because it's a private entity. Public schools are public. There's a difference. The state cannot afford to put metal detectors in every single school in every single facet of education. And that's where the problem
lies. Do you know how much money California, let alone the nation, makes? That's where the problem lies. Whereas that's why I took it back to the 1700s. Okay. That's where the problem lies with the taxation money. It needs to be taking more ownership of it.
But you're saying that. But we have a presidency and an administration that wants to get rid of the Department of Education at this rate.
So
how do you think that there's going to be any money whatsoever for any type of security, any type of measures to protect children? And or in general, just to help
everyone
children.
agrees. That's why I'm just saying you got to unify. It's like one twig versus you got a twig thick as a whole city. Like you can't really break that or snap that at all, or even burn it at that.
But look, when I grew up in elementary, we didn't have any school resource officers. I grew up in the middle of Santa Ana, and I wasn't poor. We're like lower middle class. But the school that I went to, elementary, I went to 2 elementary schools when I was in kinder. And then as soon as we moved out of that area, we went to a different school because we moved out of the area. And then I had to restart kinder again.
But you know what? Even if you move to a different school, even every time there's a school shooting, like the narrative quickly shifts to mental health. But when violence happens, like in our community, like it just happened, then it's labeled as gang-related or criminal behavior. But that's crazy.
But that never happened too.
That's not mental health.
But that never happened when I was in school, when I was in junior high. I've been a sucker punched by a bunch of little levas that wanted to sucker punch me when I wasn't looking. But I took a punch like a champ.
But you know what? After
and this, that was back then. It was like 30 plus years ago.
I was thankful that, all you sucker punchers that sucker punched me, like 3 of you. You know what? I'm so thankful for you guys for not stabbing me or shooting me.
Well, no, but that's why you're a loser right now, because we're doing the podcast talking about your little right now.
Hey, they could be doing it big too. They could be.
They're not. Trust me, I know. I know who these people are. I still keep track of them, and they're not doing anything with their lives. They could be doing the damn thing. But that's not the point. But no, but it's
not killing me.
But that's my point. But we didn't need that. We didn't need knives. We didn't need stabbings. We didn't need
took the L.
Guns.
They took the L and they accepted it. Like, hey, palabra, I'll buy you beer.
Look, but it's not. But it's not even funny. Why? Because I took the sucker punch like a champ, And then it never knocked me down. I was back on my feet. I'm like, what? Is that all you got, you little? I mean, my point is.
I mean, I've been knocked out. When I woke up, it wasn't nobody there.
Why can't kids
I was
treat each other like
though.
that? Well, I think the more over the years, the people would develop a weaker chin. I would assume that they're all aristocrats for something, and that's just a loose term that I'm saying. But anyways, not to say that they were loose. It's just a loose term.
Yeah. Well,
but my point is that.
Well, anyways,
I took 3 or 4 sucker punches when I was a kid. When I was about 11, between 11 and 12,
I took 13. When I was an adult too.
No. But even then, it's like they don't make people like they used to. Meaning that these kids nowadays, they want to resort to, I'm gonna bring a gun or I'm gonna bring a knife to a fist fight.
Oh yeah, no one wants to lose the fight. No one wants to take their L's no more. They just want to like.
It's all about egos. Like, I'm gonna let that guy
really?
call me out. It's all about emotions. It's all about feelings. Well, I mean, what happened in that fight? The kid got stabbed. He lost his life. 2 kids turned themselves in because it's Santa Ana. They're not going to, not keep a secret. And how many people were filming that, were putting that on their phones? It's like nobody's going to keep their mouth shut, especially because they've caught everybody.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a double standard.
Everybody's going to get identified, right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is a double standard. Like mental health is a serious issue, but it's often only used selectively, like to explain why certain acts of violence. Like in this case, they're not going to really say like bring it down, like it's a mental health issue, and then break it down to like. But
you know what the saddest part is?
Or break it down to the music you would listen to.
Well, there's always a reason, but it's never an excuse that people may use. At
the same time, yeah, because a lot of people listen to all that type of music and don't
really. That doesn't do anything. But okay,
what is that?
Once
going to happen?
These kids turn 18, their records are going to get expunged, meaning it's going to get buried under a lot of nothingness, meaning it never happened. Because if these kids were minors, then it didn't exist. It didn't happen. Their records are going to get wiped clean for the rest of their adult life. And they're going to get a fresh start again. Well, it happens like that.
No, at this point, I mean, I think the only right thing to do would be the victim's family. If they agree upon that, to do what you're saying, then, I would leave it on the victim's family. I would say they have the final say.
That's called a civil lawsuit, though. That's called a civil lawsuit.
Well, there you go.
Civil lawsuits don't go away. Whatever. It's going to haunt them if they want any type of, money or not money, but at least compensation for loss of life.
Yeah, well, since the Columbine shooting in 1999, over 390,000 students have experienced a shooting at their school, according to, what's this one?
But the saddest, the even more saddest part about all of this
AI.
Is all these mass school shootings usually, and not because I'm being ethnic about it, they happen by mostly kids of a white ethnicity, and or there's this term that exists when I was a kid. People go postal, and there's another reason why things usually happen, because most of these people that technically go postal
now they call it crashing out.
Well, they're a lot of them, the majority of them that own these or possess these guns are not of Hispanic or a black culture. They happen in the white ethnicity, and I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just being factual about this.
Yeah, but now it is pouring into also the Latino community, as a Latino community now is become emerged within the American culture. So now,
but I think it's mostly due to gang violence, though. But it has nothing to do.
Well, now that's a different wave in itself. I'm just saying now the cultures are mixing, so now it's also intermingling the same thing as far as crashing out and shooting things. But that's crazy, fool. Since 1999, 390,000. Fool, that means like you could fill up a whole arena of people that have been affected directly by school shootings. I mean, that's not taking into account the inner city. These statistics on 1999 is mainly about the other, American culture of shooting, like, the kids.
You could feel.
But now, I think they're missing at least their statistics are either skewed 1/3 or 50%. So either 390,000 and another third, or another 390,000. That's close to
SoFi
a million
stadiums
to high 800,000.
where the USC plays.
How many seats
and
can you
3
get in the Angel
AT&T
Stadium?
fields.
How many?
Angel Stadium only seats like 35,000. That's it.
Damn.
So 35 times what? 8?
Not even 100.
No.
300.
The Coliseum in LA, in South
That's
LA,
a lot.
where
In
USC
1999,
plays.
that's all in my lifetime.
AT&T Stadium and also 3 SoFi stadiums.
That's a lot of people in my age range. Like, damn. Hey, therapy, everybody. Damn.
Well, yeah, just I mean, if you're Hispanic, just call your local Spanish radio DJ, and that's your therapy right there, you know. But that's just, we did speak about that in prior
Catholicism.
podcasts.
You go to the confession. That's kind of like a therapy in itself. You just give a little
No,
donation.
not really. It's not a therapy. I think it's a release of consciousness because you're confessing things that you would have never have told anybody else.
That is therapy, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It is, but
it's not intense to different levels, or there's levels to this, you know.
Well, if there's no repentance, there's no point of it. Because if people keep doing it over and over again, I mean, not to talk religion or anything. I mean, I'm Catholic, he's Catholic, and we're just saying that because we're both Catholic, you know. Especially, congratulations to the new Pope. He's American, and
he's American.
America. Oh, we got that. There we go.
We got to do it.
Oh! What animal is that again?
That? A pterodactyl.
Is that a pterodactyl?
Oh my God.
That's a pterodactyl. But anyways, thank you everybody for being here for the CaliCurrent podcast.
We're still talking about mentorship. We need
Grimace and your host Ish.
So we still need to talk about one last thing. The mentorship, like when the streets raise you.
No, we're not closing it out. I'm just saying I gotta do
I was like, hey, calm yourself.
the middle outro, because we're not outro. We're the middling. We're middling each other.
All right.
Not fingering. We're middling each other.
Hey, none of that Kanye fuck. Hey, get that out your mind. It's fucking Kanye.
You're not talking about Kanye. You're talking about Sean John.
That's what he said. You're like meddling.
You're saying Kanye.
You said we're meddling each other. I was like, none of that Kanye.
No.
I'm talking about meddling.
I'm talking about Puffy.
No Diddy.
Puffy Daddy D and the Cell Block D right there.
Anyways, bringing it back to the hood as it is, and where we're reporting live from. Mentorship, when the streets raise you, like in many communities, kids don't have positive role models. The streets become their mentors. That's why, like, you know, even me, when I seen the little homies in the streets, I'll be like, what up, homie? These little kids were dancing the other day, like maybe a couple months ago. They come to my work. They start messing with the computer, putting their own music. Start putting some rapper called Money Sign Suede. And I was like, damn, I heard about him. He was an up-and-coming Latino rapper.
What are these kids
fighting about? And he got murdered in prison. I was like,
but what are these kids fighting about? They're fighting over territory that doesn't even belong to them. I mean, territory meaning that the corner. I mean, look,
barrio.
Look, where I grew up in Santa Ana, it wasn't the nicest or the most pleasant part of town. I remember getting my change snatched maybe once. I don't know if these other two kids that were probably like 2 or 3 years older than me had a gun or a knife. I'm like, dude, take it.
You let them take it?
I had to let them take it. I was literally right there around the corner from my house.
Well, they took the stereo system out of my car, but I was in football practice. I just walked to it. I saw the cables hanging out. I was like, why are my cables hanging out? I was like, no. And then I had to.
Damn.
I installed it myself and paid for it myself. And I was like, oh, that work to install it. And well, obviously the price of the parts. Like,
I have a story that there's this park in Fountain Valley, Miles Square Park. Technically, that's the name of it because every square or every side is a mile. All the way around, that's 4 miles.
It was like 4 miles or 16?
Well, the point is everybody in Santa Ana, their mothers, their fathers, and everybody else, whoever existed, went there on every Easter weekend, you know, to celebrate the lowriders.
There's a whole lot of lowriders. That's like a free car show. Oh, damn. That guy put in blast.
So, like in 1995 or 6-ish, actually more like 94, my cousin had a sweet yellowish, I don't even remember what it was.
It looks like a lowrider.
Monte Carlo.
Old school lowrider one.
An 86 Monte Carlos with Dayton's.
Oh, no, I'm confusing with your dad's.
No, it was my cousin's. My cousin Simon. He lives in North Carolina. Shout out to my cousin Simon in North Carolina.
What's up,
he had a yellow Monte Carlo with Dayton's. He didn't make a lot of money, but he kept that car clean, period. And he had a sound system. He had 2 18s. It was nice. We were always bumping it. My point is that we ended up going there, but since there was no parking, we ended up parking across the street at the local business, whatever the case was. We thought the car was going to be there perfectly fine, safe and sound. Nothing was going to happen to it. Nobody's going to see it, this and that and the other. So whatever. So we parked it. We walked to the park. We were there like 20, 30 minutes max. And for some reason, God is always good. He always lets you know what's happening. So whatever reason, we walked back to the car. It was 4 of us. It was me, my brother Ralph, his brother Sal, and my cousin Simon. We walked back to the car, and lo and behold, we see these 2 Hispanic males under the hood trying to disconnect the battery because the car alarm was going off. And it's like we caught them red-handed, either trying to steal the sound system or trying to steal the car in general. So we got back in the nick of time before anything could happen.
Well,
so the story is, the point of it is that there were 2 like fat cholos wannabes that were buzzed like me and maybe back in the day. And it's like, damn, okay, well, really? Come on, really? What are they going to do with the car? It's like, whatever. I mean, chop shop or what?
And that was back then, because like back then, like we say it now, it's like, oh, it's a classic car. But back then, it was just really like more of an older car that they don't really like concentrate on. It wasn't a
classic car. It was just a car.
Well, now it is a classic. Yeah, but back then, exactly. So that's why, just to put it in more perspective, because now when you think about that car, it's like, oh, damn, classic. But at the moment in time, it wasn't thought of as a classic. It was more like, just like you say, like a whatever car. So that to establish your point of saying, what are they going to do with it? Exactly. What are they going to do with it? Because it was more like, now it's that they could make something of it because it was a value, but back then it wasn't recognized as value. So if we would have showed
up with any weapons whatsoever, we would have been defenseless, even though there was 4 of us. Even though there was 2 or 3 of them, they would have just overtook us. They didn't have any guns. They didn't have any knives. They just ran. As soon as we started saying, hey, what's happening? They started running like crazy.
Well, yeah. But
that doesn't happen anymore, Usually everybody's quick nowadays to pull out a knife, pull out a gun, pull out some ninja stars.
You know what? I had like 2 badass ninja stars and someone jacked them like mother truckers.
Hey, imagine if we replaced all the guns in the world with ninja stars. You know how much fun we would have trying to hit each other like that?
Fun? A ninja star that's like a flying knife. What you mean?
That's you in the middle of the forehead. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could cause some damage, but it's not gonna like literally. Yeah, you could, be disabled or something, but it's not gonna kill you right away.
It will if you know how to wield the sword. My goodness.
But it's just nobody fights fair anymore.
Yeah, no one fights fair anymore. I mean, whatever happened to just throwing some hooks and letting it be done. So now I can't even have a good old bar fight. Now there goes bar fights.
There's no such thing as a bar fight. Okay, moving on.
I've been in some myself. What you mean? But anyways, moving on.
Damn. Okay.
Everybody, yeah, and they were fun. And some of them I had to avoid them. I was like, you got me, sucker. I ain't trying to get no problems with the law. Cause anyways.
Okay, so what's next? What are we going into next?
Well, now we're just gonna tell everybody like, mind your mental health. I mean, as a recap, cause no one wants to take ownership or unite against like I don't know. I heard some Chinaman reporter talking to the reporters in the United States saying, "You guys need a revolution." And then when he said that, I kind of thought about their day. I was like, you know what? It's because all the people with money, they got galores of money that they go to space. That's crazy.
My opinion.
Versus you got a mother trucker trying to make money to pay his gas in his car, make money to go to work, and make money. Like, damn, you struggling and you barely got some crappy ass gear. Crappy ass clothes compared to some fool who's going to the moon, just giggles pooping giggles so that's why I understand what that Chinaman was saying, that the USA needs the income disparity is really horrible.
The way that Mexico evaded
compared to some countries
or avoided
but others have it worse
revolution is because they elected a woman president, because men were just killing it for the country of Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico has some crazy resources.
If we would have elected a woman in this country, we would have been better off.
I mean, if there would no been corruption, damn, Mexico would actually be like a stronger powerhouse. But corruption, I mean, hey.
Okay, well, I've already given my opinion about Mexico
and
about this country.
And spies.
This country is trying to make it like Mexico, where corruption runs rampant. And it can't happen here because the people will always hold the government accountable for what's happening in government. That's the difference. That's just my opinion about it. That's just how it is, and that's the plain truth.
So would you keep separation of the church and state, or should the church's good scriptures rule the land? Because that should be the law of the land, possibly.
I don't know. So make sure that if you're ever out there, don't cross anybody for road rage. Don't cross anybody just for a spat, literal spat on the, walkways, sidewalks.
Treat everybody like it's you out there. Like, hey, help yourself out. You want the right of way? Hey, got you. Help you out. We are a human team. Like, imagine we got to go beef it out with like a different planet. Like, say Mars has like a whole group of people. Like, we gonna take over your planet.
We're going against each other.
Crew. Yeah,
we're humans.
We gotta work as a whole
brothers.
team.
We're
gonna have to go
blood.
beef it. What if the Sombrero Galaxy ain't on our team?
We're fighting amongst ourselves, but then we could have worser problems like other, things trying to invade us, and we're gonna still keep fighting no matter what.
Milky Way all the way. Thank you for watching the Cali Current Podcast.
Thank you very much for sharing, liking, subscribing. This is your host, Ish.
And Grimace.
And don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube, Spotify, and then we're going to come to you on other formats coming soon. And we're going to have shorts for you really soon. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification button because it goes a long way. We do appreciate you for being here no matter what.
Yeah, and comment us. And we're still looking for a winner on the other challenge, on the episode. You remember, was it episode 20 or something? Or you could DM us on the socials, on the Instagram, and you give us your story there.
Okay, we're on Instagram as CaliCurrent Podcast. Okay, don't forget that. We're going to come to you pretty soon on TikTok. We're going to come to you pretty soon on Facebook. We don't have a Facebook page yet, but we're going to work on that.
Facebook,
okay?
Yeah, page it.
Well,
Help us out. We need some help.
No. But like I said, he's willing to give us a sack of avocados. I'm willing to give a $20 gift card to In-N-Out or whatever, I don't know, state you're in.
Get you your Flying Dutchman.
As long as they give it to you a meal. Exactly. Take care, everybody. Peace out. We love you, and we do appreciate you no matter what.
Peace.
Take care.